The movie starts with a smuggler leads Nico and his pregnant wife Mia, who are among the escapees, to the local harbor. They run through the containers, trying to find a way out. When dogs block their path, they change direction, staying hidden from the helicopter's searchlights. They hear the police arresting others, but they manage to avoid capture and find another smuggler. The smuggler demands more money, but since they've already paid a lot, Nico and Mia give him their wedding rings as payment. The couple climbs into the back of a truck filled with women, children, and even a dog. Inside, Mia removes the bandage hiding her belly and grows anxious, realizing she hasn't felt the baby move for some time. Nico shows Mia where to find the spot where the baby always kicks, the place where the baby's foot moves. He gives her a Snickers bar he had saved to celebrate their arrival in Ireland. When one of the refugees drills a hole in the truck to let light in, Mia watches the other children and feels guilty about leaving their first child behind. Nico reminds her that soldiers took their child away, meaning she is likely dead. After only a few hours on the road, the truck stops to pick up more refugees. The new passengers crowd in quickly, making the truck too cramped. The smuggler decides to split the group, keeping women and children in this truck while sending the men in another vehicle. Nico tries to explain that he was already traveling with his wife, but the smuggler ignores him and forces him into the other truck. The doors close, and Mia watches through the hole as Nico is taken away. Mia uses her phone to contact Nico. He reassures her that the trucks are headed in the same direction and promises they will reunite soon. He tells her to save her battery and watch their belongings. As the truck moves on, Mia peers through the hole, horrified by the chaos outside. Soldiers kill rioters mercilessly, and women are hauled away in cages as if they were livestock. Sometime later, the truck stops when they arrive at a checkpoint, and all the women rush to hide at the back. The driver presents papers to show he's transporting cargo, but the soldiers open the truck to check anyway. At first sight, they only see a few boxes because the refugees are hiding behind a fake wall. However, the leader is suspicious and sends one of his men inside, asking him to go as far as possible and shoot at the sidewall. The guy does so, and by seeing the difference in distance, the leader can tell there's a hidden compartment. So he goes inside with a bunch of his soldiers and asks the women to come out. Fearing the worst, Mia climbs on top of the crates right before one of the women opens the fake wall. The leader immediately kills her, and the other soldiers open fire to murder the whole group while Mia is splattered with their blood. By the end, the only ones standing are the dog and a little kid. The dog gets to run away, but the soldiers make sure to kill the kid too. After they're gone, Mia cries and sends her husband a message, telling him to hide. A few hours later, the truck makes it to another harbor, and the container is moved to be taken away on a ship. Mia tries calling Nico, but he doesn't pick up, so she just leaves another message saying the ship is taking her away. Mia checks her bag, turns on a light, and falls asleep. Later, she wakes up as the container starts shaking. She sees sailors running through the bullet holes in the container. A fierce storm is thrashing the ship. She shouts for help, but the shaking throws her around, injuring her. The container lands suddenly, knocking her unconscious. When she wakes up, she notices water leaking into the container through the holes. Looking outside, she realizes the ship has sunk, and the containers, including hers, are now floating in the sea. Panicked, she tries to call Nico, but her smashed phone doesn't work. She grabs a spare phone from her bag, but can't unlock it without the password. After checking the baby is safe, Mia sees more water pouring in and starts searching the crates for anything useful. The crates only contain items like plastic containers, televisions, alcohol, and earbuds. She finds some hoodies, puts one on, and gathers her belongings that fell out of her bag, including tape and a Swiss Army knife. She uses the tape to cover the holes and slow the water. Then, she finds her diary and takes comfort in a picture of her family. Suddenly, she hears screaming. Through a hole, she sees another container sinking with people trapped inside. Desperate, she screams Nico's name and places her SIM card in the working phone, but Nico doesn't answer. As the container sinks, Mia breaks down in tears. Mia spends hours trying the phone, but it doesn't work. By nightfall, she grabs a knife, thinking about ending her life. Suddenly, she feels the baby move. This gives her hope, and she decides to live for the baby. She goes to sleep, listening to the whales singing outside. Moments later, she notices a hanging crate shaking. She moves just in time before it crashes down, but this causes water to pour into the container quickly. Mia panics, thinking she's about to drown, but then she wakes up and realizes it was just a nightmare. She sees the tape has come off, and water is flooding in. Acting fast, Mia pushes a crate under the hanging one and uses her knife to release it, only to discover more plastic containers inside. At first, she feels frustrated, but then she gets an idea. She removes the rubber from the container lids and uses it to cover the lower holes. Then, she takes a hose from a machine in one of the crates and uses it to drain the water. Mia stacks 2 crates against the wall to create a place to lie down and marks the water levels with tape to track the days until it overflows. After trying the phone again without success, she hangs wires from her earbuds and dries photographs from her diary. She carefully checks her supplies, rationing her water bottles and food. She also discovers that the drill and lighter dropped by others still work. Mia's phone rings suddenly, and she answers an unknown number. It's Nico. He explains he couldn't call earlier because his phone battery had died. He survived because the other driver had scammed them, abandoning the group outside the city instead of taking them to the harbor. Mia tells Nico what happened to her, and Nico promises to rescue her. For now, he urges her to conserve her phone battery and survive for their child. Suddenly, Mia feels a contraction and pleads with the baby to wait a little longer. She eats part of her sandwich and rearranges some crates, but boredom sets in. Noticing an approaching storm, she feels another contraction and hopes it's a false alarm. Moments later, the storm shakes the container violently, and Mia realizes the baby is coming. Mia screams in pain as water floods the container again. When her phone rings, she tries to answer but drops it. With no other option, she removes her dress, holds onto the crate's ropes, and gives birth to the baby in the rising water. The umbilical cord is wrapped around the baby's neck, but Mia quickly untangles it and pats the baby's back until the baby cries. Climbing onto a crate, Mia cradles her newborn tightly as the storm rages on. By morning, the storm subsides, and Mia delivers the placenta, storing it in a plastic container. Mia tidies up the place as much as possible and places the baby in a small box with a hoodie while checking her belongings. She eats a bit of canned food, but her phone is water damaged and won't work. The baby won't stop crying, so Mia tries to breastfeed her, but it doesn't help. When she hears the metal of the container squeaking, she gets an idea. Grabbing a drill, she starts making holes in the ceiling to cut out a square and escape. However, the noise makes the baby cry louder. Mia tries to calm the baby, but even singing doesn't work. Frustrated, she snaps and yells at the child. Realizing her mistake, she quickly apologizes. Moments later, she notices her chest reacting. She tries breastfeeding again, and this time, milk comes out, allowing the baby to finally feed. Exhausted, Mia finishes all the food she has before returning to drilling. Unfortunately, the drill runs out of battery before she can finish the job. She tries putting the SIM card back into the original phone, but it still doesn't work. Frustrated, she throws her belongings around in anger. Finding a knife, she uses it to continue working on the ceiling, but it hurts her hands. With nothing else to do, Mia focuses on caring for the baby, occasionally wetting the child's skin to help with the heat. When she tries to sleep, her growling stomach keeps her awake. Desperation takes over, and Mia decides to eat her own placenta. Suddenly, she hears the whales outside again. When she looks out, a whale hits the container, causing the baby to cry. Mia hits the container walls, scaring the whale away. The next morning, Mia tries to widen the holes with the knife again, but the knife breaks. The phone still doesn't work, and she drinks the last of her clean water. Dizzy from the heat, Mia splashes seawater on her head and licks water drops from the ceiling. This makes her sick within minutes. The dizziness worsens, and suddenly, a paper plane lands on her legs. Mia sees a vision of her first daughter blaming her for her death at the hands of soldiers. Nico appears next, reminding her it wasn't her fault. Mia cries until she wakes up from the dream. She feels better because it's finally raining. Water drips through the holes, and Mia drinks some while collecting more in plastic containers. She grabs a can, and when the lid breaks, she gets an idea. She threads rope from the crates through the ceiling holes and pulls until she opens a larger hole, letting sunlight in. Mia climbs on top of the container and sees no land in sight. She and the baby sleep there for fresh air. Later, when it's time to change the baby, Mia throws the dirty hoodie into the water. Mia sees a bunch of fish and quickly grabs some rope and a piece of metal to try fishing. Despite her efforts, she fails to catch a single fish. Frustrated, she notices a plane flying by and rushes into the container to break a television and grab a piece of its screen. In her haste, she injures her leg but ignores the pain. Using the screen piece, she reflects sunlight to signal the plane, but it flies away without noticing her. Disappointed, Mia goes back inside the container and stitches her wound with wires and small metal pieces. The process is excruciating, so she numbs the pain with alcohol. While recovering, she notices the hundreds of earbuds around her and gets an idea. Using the wires, she makes a net. Once the net is ready, she throws it into the sea with a dirty cloth and finally manages to trap some fish, which she eats raw. Over the next few days, Mia focuses on survival. She removes water from the container with a hose and continues fishing successfully with her net, storing fish in plastic containers. She also tears pages from her diary to write SOS notes, placing them inside containers and tossing them into the sea, hoping someone will find them. One afternoon, Mia shows the baby all the family pictures and decides to name her Noah, the name Nico wanted after her grandmother. She also shows the baby a picture of her sister and shares the story of how soldiers took her, confessing she still blames herself for it. Later that evening, Mia notices Noah is getting cold. She uses some alcohol and a lighter to start a fire. In the middle of the night, Mia hears something hitting the wall. When she checks, she finds it's just a plastic container. Suddenly, her phone rings, and she feels a surge of joy hearing Nico's voice. However, Nico has bad news. He tried to steal a boat, but soldiers saw him and shot him. Now he's hiding, bleeding out, and doesn't have much time left. Nico calls to say goodbye and asks Mia to promise she'll survive. Mia places the phone near Noah so Nico can hear her baby noises. After Mia and Nico exchange "I love you," the phone battery dies, and the wind extinguishes the fire as Mia sobs. It's revealed that Mia still has the Snickers bar she's saving for the end of her journey, as she promised. On day 26, Mia reaches her breaking point. Drawings and rants cover paper sheets taped to the container walls. The container is almost out of water, forcing Mia and Noah to live on top of it. Mia works on building a raft using crate wood, plastic containers, and rope. Suddenly, a seagull lands on the container to snatch some fish. This gives Mia hope, as it means land must be near. Later in the evening, Mia starts a new fire and prepares a sail for her raft. Suddenly, she hears a noise from the container and realizes it will sink soon. She dives in to save her pictures. Spotting a Snickers bar in a plastic container, she takes the risk and goes deeper to grab it. As the water pushes the raft with Noah away, Mia's foot gets tangled in a rope. She struggles to free herself while trying not to drown. Using a piece of metal, she cuts the rope and quickly swims out just before the container sinks. When Mia reaches the surface, she panics because she can't see Noah. After a moment, a whale surfaces, expelling water that splashes onto Noah, making her cry. Mia follows the sound and reunites with her daughter. The next morning, while floating, Mia throws some fish from a plastic container into the water, hoping to attract birds. A flock of seagulls gathers above them, catching the attention of a nearby boat. The sailors steer toward the raft and rescue Noah, who is alive and well. They notice a rope trailing from the raft into the sea and pull it, eventually bringing Mia's body to the surface. The sailors immediately start CPR, but Mia doesn't wake up. Still, they refuse to give up for the baby's sake. After many chest compressions, Mia finally responds. The sailors hand her the baby and use the radio to call for help. It takes Mia a moment to realize she's safe. When she looks at the horizon, she sees they're nearing Ireland, where she can start the new life she dreamed of. And that's how the movie ends. What did you think of this movie? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more amazing videos. See you next time.